Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Venerable monks, upasakas, upasikas. Once again, welcome to Sunday evening Dhamma program, where we meet every Sunday for chanting, meditation, and teaching. So, today I would like to share a sutta called Salla Sutta, that is dirt, that is like something like a spear, arrow, in other words you can say the arrow. So this sutta is quite popular and it is very helpful as well. So, especially for our meditation practice as well as for our day-to-day life as well. So, let me read the sutta, some paragraph by paragraph, and then try to explain. So, Buddha says, because the uninstructed worldling feels a pleasant feeling, a painful feeling, and a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. The instructed noble disciple too feels a pleasant feeling, a painful feeling, and a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, which is neutral. Therein, because what is the distinction, the disparity, the difference between the instructed noble disciple and the uninstructed worldling? So, it's about feeling. So we all of us feel. All of us have feeling. We all feel. That is three kinds of feeling: pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. Right. So there is a pleasant feeling which we like, and there is an unpleasant feeling which we don't like, and neutral feeling we are confused. Right. So we are in this somehow put into this kind of situation, right? So this is the reason that we meditate, that we listen to the teaching, so that how can we manage the feeling? Because as a human being, we have feelings, right? We are not like or this building or stone, right? We have feelings, and that's something which governs our life, very much rooted on that. So what Buddha is saying is that instructed worldling, uninstructed worldling, and the instructed noble disciple. So two kinds of people here, right? One is uninstructed. Uninstructed here, you can say untrained. To make it very simple, you can say untrained individual and an trained individual, right? Because training we can understand, right? So even if you look at the word civilization, right? We talk so much about civilization, Indus civilization, Western civilization, Roman civilization, Chinese civilization, a lot of the civilization, So it is all about, how do we train ourselves? How do we cultivate ourselves? But in all civilization, it is all about the buildings, the roads, the drainage system, the electricity, water, and architecture, food and clothing, culture, music, dance, and languages, all of that, right? So now the latest AI, we are in the AI's time. So it is all about this, our what we can call the external civilization, the external, in other words, training, right? So we are supposed to be trained even to live in a civilized situation, civilized society. So, but here, what Buddha is saying is about the training of the mind, the civilization of the mind, right? We are somehow good at managing the resources, the four element, in other words. All the resources we see are just the four element actually, right? That is the physical world, that heat, water, the liquid part, the earth, solid part, and the air part. This is the four thing, So we are just managing that in some way, right? But as a human being, of course, our body is, of course, made up of these four elements. It is also called Mahabodhi, Mahabodhi, the great element, right? So all the science, the math is all about that, including our civilization has somehow become part of that. But here Buddha is saying about our mind, as an individual, our mind, our feelings, our thoughts, our likes and dislikes. So we see here feeling, right? So Buddha is saying that we need somebody who is untrained and somebody who is trained, what we call the sant, the noble, the enlightened, the awakened, whatever you can call, spiritually evolved, different names you can understand, somebody who is spiritually evolved, Now, both of them feel the same, both of them have the pleasant, unpleasant, neutral feeling, three kinds of feeling that we all feel, So Buddha is saying, what is the difference, of somebody, ordinary person, untrained, and somebody who is trained? What is the difference? So the monks, they are saying, they are requesting the Buddha to explain for them, right? So Buddha is asking them, and then Buddha, they request the Buddha to tell about it, And you see, it's a very important question, isn't it? Because it's a feeling, right? We all have feeling. I feel bad, I feel good, I have a good feeling, bad feeling. Today I'm feeling good, I'm not feeling good, physically, mentally, whatever. So it's all about feeling, right? Now you're sitting here, we all are sitting here. Maybe somehow we are feeling okay, if not very pleasant, but somehow we are okay, right? So everything is governed by feeling. Everything is, so it's a very important thing, right? That we, as a human being, we all function based on our feeling, right? Whether it is relationship, whether it is food, whether any language or anything, as I mentioned. So very important. So Buddha is addressing the core of humanity, which is the feeling. I mean, in the sense, I would at least say it's a very important element of our life. in fact, right? So this is something the Buddha is trying to address, right? And it is very important for us to think about it, our feeling, right? How do we feel? And what do we do with our feeling? Right? If a certain feeling, how do we do? So Buddha is saying, just listen. Buddha is saying, listen, I will tell, right? The Buddha is telling. So, because when the uninstructed or untrained, I would like to use that, worldling is being contacted by a painful feeling, he sorrows, grieves, and laments. He weeps, beating his chest, and becomes distraught. He feels two feelings, a bodily one and a mental one. So, when an ordinary individual, when an ordinary individual feels this feeling, then what happens? A painful feeling. He sorrows. He sorrow, right? He becomes sad. He's sorrowing, sad, feeling bad, and grieves. It's like, oh, why it happened to me? Why I'm feeling like this? Oh, it is so bad. It is so suffocating, or right, like something. Why me? Why I'm feeling like this? Or laments, or maybe some kind of worry. Oh, why it happened? It should have not happened, or something like that, And he weeps, and he weeps, weeping. That is something, thinking more, overthinking, and just feeling sort of victim. You feel that you are the victim, and you feel bad. So, any one of us, who feels the feeling that way. So he feels two, a bodily one, a mental one. So there is a two feeling, a bodily one and a mental one, two kinds of feeling. Now I think here it is more specifically about the physical feeling, right? Suppose they were to strike a man with a dirt, and they would strike him immediately afterward with a second dirt, so that the man who feel a feeling caused by two dirts, so too, when the uninstructed worldling is being contacted by a painful feeling, he feels two feeling, a bodily one and a mental one. Being contacted by the same painful feeling, he harbors aversion toward it. When he harbors aversion toward painful feeling, the underlying tendency to aversion towards painful feeling lies behind this. Being contacted by painful feeling, he seeks delight in sensual pleasures. For what reason? Because the untrained worldling, the untrained individual, if I may say, does not know of any escape from painful feeling other than sensual pleasures. When he seeks delight in sensual pleasures, the underlying tendency to lust for pleasant feeling lies behind this. Or you can say the desire for pleasant feeling, the wanting, I would say, for pleasant feeling lies behind this. He does not understand as it really is the origin and passing away, the gratification, the danger and the escape in the case of this feeling. When he does not understand these things, the underlying tendency to ignorance in regard to neither painful nor pleasant feeling lies behind this. Yeah, so it's like a two arrow, right? So the first arrow is there and the second arrow is there, right? So it's like the first arrow is our suffering, let's say painful feeling. Let's say you got some pain in the body, some disease, some sickness, or any kinds of any kinds of, you can say, external loss, or reason, like say you lose something, or you miss, you lose somebody, right? Things like that are all external, that are all you can say physical, including say people, like in some way we are somebody who is not you, right? This is somebody who is external to you, who is outside of you. So you have all this feeling, right? And then you have this kind of pain, right? And the second one is what is the second arrow, which is the second feeling. And what is the second feeling? The first one is unavoidable, but the second one is kind of avoidable. It is avoidable, right? And in fact, the second one is more intense, which is our reaction. As we see here, when we have certain painful feeling, what we do, we harbor aversion. We don't like it. This painful feeling, just you don't like it. You just don't like. So your underlying tendency toward not liking that arises. So then you suffer more. You suffer more. So what Buddha is trying to say here, this first and second arrow, is the first arrow is unavoidable, as I already mentioned, right? So Buddha is not speaking of a situation where nobody in the world suffers. In the sense, there is no any kind of external difficulties or physical or external difficulties, right? All the thing that is there, that is in the world, is there. There will be no world where there is no sickness, there is no losing something. It is something is there in the world, right? Buddha is not saying it is not there. It is always there, right? But when you have some unpleasant feeling, and you are reacting to, you are not liking it, you have this strong desire of disliking, irritated, or you don't like it, you don't want it, it's like, and as Buddha mentioned, weeping, lamenting, why it is like this, or why it is like this. You feel sorry for yourself, and somehow you don't want it, right? It's a strong not wanting. Even if somebody says something to you, it is everything, somebody says something, you don't like it, some unpleasant thing somebody says, unpleasant, some kind of a feeling, some sickness, or anything you can say which is unpleasant, right? That comes, it is a sound actually. If somebody says something wrong to you, what it is? It's a sound actually. That is also a physical thing. Sound is also a physical thing. That's why this mic is also able to make a sound, or the mobile, it is able to make a sound, isn't it? So it's not like sound is not just a human thing, right? So we create this kind of a disliking, right? And then we suffer more. We suffer. In fact, that is the actual suffering. If you what Buddha is trying to say, right? Actual, or in other words, actual in the sense that you create that suffering. The second, the reaction. The way you react, just react with a tendency that is not in your control, right? You have that, and that's where the untrained comes in, right? You're not trained. You don't train yourself to manage all these feelings, right? You're not trained enough to manage these different feelings, especially the unpleasant feeling, and including the pleasant feeling as well, right? Because what Buddha is saying is that we also, it will come, but we are mainly first going with the unpleasant feeling. So we don't like it, right? So we complain and we suffer. Why me? Why this? Why that? oh, like all these things that we create, then we suffer more, actually more than the actual suffering, you see. I think I gave this example before as well, earlier as well, about this individual who had some cancer disease, very serious disease, and there were two person, right? Both of them got the same disease, and the doctor said 6 month time, only 6 month time. But one person just accepted it. He said, okay, he is a believer in a God. So he says, okay, the God is calling me, right? So he just said, it's a wish of the God. So the God wants me, so I have to go to God, right? So he's a believer in a God. So he just kind of, and he was a very, God exists, that's another question, but he was a believer in a God. And actually he believed, and somehow he, but more than the God, it was his acceptance of whatever it is, right? The sickness. Okay, I have to die. Okay, I have to die. Are you ready? If somebody says 3 months you are going to die, are you ready? No. How many of you are ready? Nobody. Acha. Right, so I keep always telling this because I actually met that individual in a hospice. I met him in a hospice where people who are at the last stage. So he was young, 35, 36, and he was in that kind of a place. And another individual who really became so much kind of unhappy and worried and fearful. So that individual, after 6 months, actually died. But this individual whom I met, after 4 years of his, cancer thing, he was still alive. Of course, once in a while he has to come to the hospital to, to attend to some needs. But 4 years he was still alive, right? So we actually do that, right? We kind of disliking. So this disliking toward painful feeling is something that that creates more suffering. And now what do we do? Now let's say there is a lot of suffering, right? Buddha is speaking about normal individual. There is suffering. Something happened. Somebody said something to me. Some pain, some this, some disease, whatever. And then what to do? It's overwhelming already. There is so much. It's a huge. You can't take it. It's too big. Then what do? You need some solution, some quick solution. You have to mitigate some emergency lending you have to do with this painful feeling. So what do? You run after sensual pleasures, right? Maybe you eat some food, probably junk food, you go for some shopping, or maybe if it is a man, drink, but these days women too have a drink, a lot of drink, and that's it. And now forget, So that's what you do, and then to escape, because Buddha is saying that is not a right way to escape, but Buddha is saying that's what people do. So you do that, and then so then once you kind of engage in the indulgence, sensual indulgence, that will of course mitigate your painful feeling to some extent. And then after that, what? It's a neutral feeling. Now, no pain, of course, because you brought in sensual pleasures, some music or this or that. reels or whatever thing that you do, right? So, and then now that has come down, and now it is a neutral feeling. See, so once you come to neutral feeling, what happens? There is a confusion, right? So there is ignorance. Now you don't know what's happening, right? You are in a confused situation. And that's what a lot of people say these days, right? These days things are so fast, so even though people's realization is also becoming too fast, right? A lot of people talk about, oh, I'm confused, a lot of confusion. Why? Because you are not able to manage your feeling, especially the unpleasant feeling, in a right way. So you take the support of the indulgence, sensual indulgence, and the feeling becomes neutral, and then you are confused because that is not the right. That's what it is, right? When you are indulging in sensuality, then it creates confusion because you don't know what's happening. Okay, then now what about the pleasant feeling? So Buddha is saying that if he feels a pleasant feeling, he feels it attached. If he feels a painful feeling, he feels it attached. If he feels a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he feels attached. Right? So this bhikkhu is called an uninstructed worldling. So there is attachment here, right? So you are attached to, first of all, you are attached to pleasant feeling, and then you are also attached to painful feeling. Attached in the sense what the fact that you don't like, I don't like this feeling. So that is also an attachment, right? And then, of course, is a pleasant feeling, I want it, right? You just want it. And neither pleasant nor feeling, you are attached because you are stuck in this. Here, attachment means you are stuck in that, right? It's not like you want it purposely, but you are somehow stuck in it, right? So now what happens? So this bhikkhu is called an untrained one who is attached to birth, aging, death, who is attached to sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, despair, who is attached to suffering, I say. So that way what happens? You are attached to there is attachment there with the feeling, and because of that there is again rebirth, birth, aging, death, again and again, aging, again and again, death, again sorrow, lamentation, pain, like that. So it keeps happening. So this is how our life functions with attachment. So then what Buddha is saying, because when the instructed noble disciple is contacted by painful feeling, he does not sorrow, grieve or lament, he does not weep, beating his chest and become distraught. He feels one feeling, a bodily one, not a mental one. Suppose there was a man, the second, so this again the example of the dirt. So somebody who is trained, let's say Buddha when he was alive, so he was a Buddha and enlightened, so he also has a pain, some back pain, this pain, that pain he had, but it is just a physical one. Or a lot of people said bad thing to him, like Chincha and other people, Devadatta, a lot of people, and he also kind of heard all those things. But he was just, it is unpleasant, right? It is unpleasant, but he doesn't get attached to it, right? He doesn't see that as me, mine, right? So my feeling, or I am like this, or so there's no me and my there. It is just a feeling, right? It's just a sound. It is just a feeling, something like that, right? So that's the state the Buddha achieved, right? And also any enlightened disciple. So they just have one feeling, just like the one arrow, not the second arrow, right? So like that same, it's the opposite. He harbors no aversion. Since he harbors no aversion toward painful feeling, the underlying tendency to aversion toward does not. So what you do is you don't create aversion, disliking toward feeling, because that is not there, so you don't need the support of sensual pleasure. And when you don't engage in too much in a sensual pleasure, then you don't have confusion, the neutral feeling, and then you are not attached to any kinds of feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling, and that's how you are free, right? So this is the difference. So this sutta is very, very, you can say, very much simple in one way, but practicing is what important, right? So we we have to practice. So we whatever feeling, right? So we don't attach to that, right? Especially here Buddha mentioned about the unpleasant feeling. So now how do we do that, right? How do we not get attached? And I think one of the way is in meditation, right? You see in meditation as well that you kind of sit in meditation and you have all those feelings, right? You have some different feelings coming in, past, future, and physical also. So you can see the feelings as they come, right? So, and then you don't dislike it, right? Whether it is something in the mind or in the body, so you don't dislike it. You just watch it and you just see it as a feeling. So not only just in meditation, but in your day-to-day life as well. But meditation is something that helps us to become more aware and more mindful of our feeling, right? So that is why mindfulness is so much important, because mindfulness is not just, say, you are aware sometime, but it has to be eventually become a part of you, right? It has to become a very natural, constant state of mind, morning till evening, right? So whenever you are being confronted by different feelings, especially unpleasant feeling here, so you don't, you just watch it and you don't get attached to it. And how do we get attached? By disliking. So you don't dislike your feeling. That's very important. The disliking, aversion, getting irritated, that is the source of many problem, because then, as Buddha mentioned, then you do that and then you are unhappy, then you take the route of sensual indulgence, whatever you do, right? Indulgence, and then later on you are confused, right? And then again, because in the confused mind, you again get some unpleasant feeling, and at this time it becomes even much bigger because you are confused, right? So therefore, we have to watch our feeling in our day-to-day life, and we don't so much basically dislike, right? You don't dislike your feeling, whether it is something connected to yourself or any other sources, any other reasons, right? So feelings are there, it's just there, right? You have to watch the feeling as just feeling and not me, mine, because one of the reason is because we exist as a human being, feelings are unavoidable, right? It is an unavoidable thing. I think that recognition is itself sufficient for us to not dislike the feeling, right? It's okay. It's okay to feel sometime, many a time, unpleasant, whether it is physical or it is mental feeling. I mean, everything is more about physical, because, as I mentioned, even the sound that you hear or some kind of a pain in the body, these are all also, or in the form of memory, right, that you get. So whatever feelings unpleasant they come, you shouldn't you just see it as a feeling, just as a feeling, and not more than that, right? In the sense you don't dislike this feeling, right? It is just a feeling, and it will change. Yeah. So one of the important thing to keep in mind is it will change. This feeling will change. It is subject to change. That's a very important, because that will also help you to not dislike your feeling, right? So yeah, that's something you can do in your day-to-day life as well as in meditation, right? So in meditation, when you sit in meditation, it's not like when you sit there is everything is pleasant, right? So I mean, a lot of people, especially who are new to meditation, they have a lot of this expectation that meditation should, when you meditate, everything is very, very blissful, and if it is not there, then you think you can't meditate, right? That's what a lot of people think. If you don't feel wonderful or blissful as you start meditating, then you think you can't meditate. A lot of people say that. But meditation is basically a training, an exercise, a training for us to deal with our feelings, different feelings, because we get a lot of feeling connected to our past and future, and sometimes physical as well, and sometimes it is also neutral, right? We sit in meditation, there is not much any feeling, right? There is no pleasant, unpleasant, nothing, right? Um, so that also can be very tricky, because when you have this neutral feeling, then you are somehow confused. What's this? There's nothing there, right? But you have to stay with that as well. You have to just see that neutral feeling as neutral feeling, right? And eventually you are out of this pleasant, unpleasant, neutral feeling. But then what you have just the joy, or the stability, or the relaxation. All of that you will experience. And then eventually your reactivity toward the feeling eventually goes less and less. And once that is gone forever, that's what we call enlightenment, right? When your reactivity toward the unpleasant thing is gone, right? Forever, not just temporarily, but forever. That's what we call enlightenment, because you don't dislike. The disliking part is gone from us, right? So as long as that is there, then there is the whole situation of our life. All the unpleasant thing keeps going, and we are in this. We get pushed between all these different feelings. We just move around these feelings, and. But remember, here Buddha is speaking about the second arrow. Second arrow is something to be reflected upon, because what Buddha is saying is that the second arrow is something avoidable, right? So as a human being, we will have unpleasant feeling, right? So we have to deal with our pleasant feeling in a much mature way, in a much more wise way, right? Seeing it as just a feeling, and also understanding that it will pass away, pass away. So that way we can, just by not reacting to these feelings, we can avoid a lot of other future more unpleasant feeling. So that's very important, right? So that we don't. And then what we have is a kind of awakening, a kind of understanding, a kind of a wisdom that comes. And that wisdom is something that allow us to remain unattached to all these feelings, and that is freedom, and that is also joyful, right? It's also a kind of a feeling, but it's a feeling that is devoid of any attachment, right? So you're not attached to that, because remember that you will still have pleasant and unpleasant feeling, even when you have this wisdom. But now you don't suffer, right? Even there is feelings are just going to be there anyway, right? But you are not suffering because you are not attached to it, which means you don't react to unpleasant feeling, right? So you don't so much react to that, and you are also not attached to unpleasant feeling as well, right? So this is what the Buddha is trying to say, and meditation really help us a lot. So I would urge you to meditate regularly, daily. Give some time, maybe minimum half an hour, 45, 1 hour. So because the more you meditate, the more you can manage your feeling better, and you can calm down your reactivity, basically. That reactivity, right? We are always in a reactive mood, isn't it? And so there is always a reaction, right? So that reactivity has to be taken care, right? Otherwise it will make ourselves more and more prone to future suffering. So we can avoid a lot of suffering, huge amount of suffering, through not reacting, and that will require a lot of meditation. So and also in your own day-to-day life, how you can less be reactive. You see something unpleasant, you hear something unpleasant, you feel something unpleasant, so you don't immediately react. Okay, take few breaths. Okay, this is a feeling, it's going to go away, it's just there for some time, just that sometime, that moment, whenever you feel. So in other words, you can say, whenever you are feeling this kind of unpleasant feeling, you can say that's an opportunity for you to develop yourself, isn't it? That's an opportunity. If it is an unpleasant feeling, that's a ground for your practice. That's a base. That's your practice. It's an opportunity for you to practice. So next time when you have some unpleasant feeling, you see it as a topic of practice, a subject of practice, an opportunity of your practice to not be reactive to those feelings, right? Why? So that in future you will be naturally non-reactive, and then you will cut down your future suffering. Future, I mean to say this life itself, and of course the future life. Those who believe in future life, but those who don't believe in future life, even the present future life, present part of your life, maybe down the line, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. So especially when you are old, so you are not a grumpy old individual, right? you are somehow more peaceful and more settled, So even if you don't believe in in the future life and future whatever, so at least in our own day-to-day life, we can be much more better. Okay, so with this reflection, I conclude my Sunday evening Dhamma talk. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.